I'm Cattski.
I'm Anya, and this is
What's Your Takeaway?
What's Your Takeaway is an exploration of ideas, insights, and inspiration. It is your food for thought.
And here we peel the onion and unravel the beauty and importance of introspection. This is our season ender. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for journeying with us through all the 7
wonderful episodes.
Yes, it has been truly amazing.
Yes, and we're here today to just sort of have a debrief.
Yes, we need to debrief with you all.
And sort of like have like a closing, just to close it and have a little bit of closure for our first season. We have a lot of thoughts and we'd like to, before we officially close this season, we'd like to share them with you. Yeah.
Yes. I think the whole journey of having conversations with different people from different backgrounds, different enriching stories, really left us with a lot of emotions. You know?
Yes, and realizations.
Yes.
And yeah, it feels
Maybe
like...
I'll throw the question to you first. Yeah.
Oh, you have questions?
I have questions.
You know, I forgot to prepare questions. Okay.
I mean, we could just bounce off these questions to each other, but how did the whole season make you feel? Like, what kind of feeling did it leave you?
Well, first, obviously, it really gave me a lot of learning and made me realize that people have different takes, and it's nice to see truths and insights from where they stand, and from that you learn too. And I realized that the more I learn, the less I know. That's really what struck me in the whole process of, wow, I still have so much to learn. Yeah, so it's also very humbling.
Yeah.
So if you have to ask me, I felt I'm humbled. Yeah. What about you?
I have a lot of feelings about what we're doing. Maybe first is I feel like we're at the right time, at the right place kind of moment. I mean, I don't think I'd be able to do this on my own. So I'm really grateful for you for kind of putting this idea out there. And I feel like I'm able to be courageous with you. And the whole exercise of listening, active listening, and asking questions, and creating a safe space for people to tell their stories.
And a safe space for us as well.
Is for me very much life-giving or energy-giving. I find myself, so many times I find myself absorbed in the conversation and really feeling like where our guests are coming from. Like when they talk about their childhood, I feel like I'm there with them as their playmate. When they talk about their journey of introspection, I feel like I'm in a community circle with them. And I'm always left, like, I know for a fact that this is a podcast I'm gonna listen to. Like as what you said, like it's such a rich space to kind of challenge your ideas, the way you think, your perception, but also enrich you in your practice of introspection. Because really, all our guests made me think. Like, it was mind-blowing.
It
right?
was. I was actually, especially the pre-wrap recording session, which was made up of 3 episodes. That was really overwhelming for me, to be honest. But even with the exhilarating feeling, I'm still amazed by how things just naturally fell into place, and like like you say, like when things are, easy, there's
It happens
ease.
with ease.
Yeah, you know that it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And there, I feel a lot of gratitude, and it's just amazing for me. Like we actually just had this small idea, little idea, and we just started working on it. It wasn't even forced.
Yeah,
Like it
it
wasn't like,
wasn't
hey,
forced.
no one's, hey, are you done with the whatever? Like we didn't
Yeah.
really pressure each other. It just naturally flowed, and reaching out to our guests if they would be cool to join in. It was easy too. There
Yeah.
was no like, oh wait, no wait, what's that? There's nothing like that at all. They were just okay,
Game
go
on.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, there was so much trust. Like
Yeah.
I also want to, give that credit to our guests
Mm-hmm.
for them to come in not knowing what they're getting themselves
Yeah.
into, with no guide questions.
yeah,
So
they really didn't know what they were getting
yeah,
themselves
they didn't
into.
know where they're getting into, but they also trusted the flow.
Yeah.
And just kind of allow themselves to be vulnerable and open up and share very personal stories.
Actually, yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of stories, we saw a lot of like patterns and
We
themes
did, yes,
from
for sure.
our amazing storytellers. Do you have like a quick one that's you feel like a common thread among our different guests?
Well, obviously, because we asked them about their childhood, there is that. And considering Mia's, our episode with Mia, where she was talking about a lot about parenthood in connection with her own childhood. And then Mark as well talked about his daughter, and how they're such good friends. And like, he's just honest about like, I don't really know if I'm doing this right. There's that realization that we all have our inner children, and that we all share that. It's not something that's just my experience or yours. It's everybody's experience. So that one, which is for me, was nice to think about. I mean, like, okay, we share this whole idea about it being having an inner child and being playful with our lives. And then the other one is, I think there was a lot of them, majority of them talked about music. Did you notice?
I noticed
Yeah.
that too. Music has such a powerful impact in their lives and in the way they're also able to discover their identities.
Yeah, what about you? What were what screamed at you? Like, what was the common thread?
I think I intentionally asked the origin story of their practice of introspection from since you're a child, because I feel like children are innately introspective.
Because of their curiosity.
Yes,
Yeah.
because of our curiosities. And I just wanted to see how their childhood experience connected to who they are now as adults. But what I think one theme that struck me the most or that stood out would be Kay and Mark's story about how the things that they were deprived of in their childhood, and even Mia, things that they were deprived of in their childhood became an opportunity for them to find themselves
Yeah.
and find what would they become.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, to me, it's just beautiful how you look at adversity or you look at lack
Yeah.
or deprivation from an abundance mindset. And you mentioned that in one of our conversations. They didn't see that as something that
Limits them.
limits them. They didn't play
Yeah.
victim around that
Yeah.
lack. Instead, it inspired them to get
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah, that's the thing about artists and creative people. I mean, they don't actually focus on what's not there. They focus on what they can do. So they made something out of nothing, which is awesome. So that too, yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, and this cuts across everyone, is the power of imagination.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's mind blowing to me how they all take in a different form.
Yeah. I remember when Larry was talking about putting form to a feeling. and,
Yes.
and like I was after that I just spaced out. I'm like, whoa, whoa, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, good thing you were just around. I'm like, okay, just continue. I'm like I switched to being an audience instead
In
of
that
being a host.
moment.
So
Yeah.
like yeah, that was really good.
And I mean, with it's to me, I'm also in awe of how amazing the stories of these people are, and how they're also real humans. And I was telling you about how we listen to these podcasts, and a lot of these big thinkers and modern philosophers are interviewed, and they seem so out of reach because they're authors, they're huge names, and they are very relatable, but sometimes it's hard to access because they're not within our community.
Yeah.
And yet here this season we talk to people who we know, who is part of our community, who is
Yeah.
part of our city.
And who are just as awesome as the big names. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
they could give us exactly the same value
Yeah.
and they could provide the same substance.
Yeah.
So
Like,
yeah.
I would be listening to, say, an episode with Adam Grant or Simon Sinek and find myself giving an applause. But I did that also with Micah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, mind blown
Right?
with
Yeah.
how amazing she is.
Yeah. I remember also how like, Golda has this like I'm a tough girl, but then I almost cried when she talked about like I'm honoring my mom with my new solo art exhibit, and for me that was touching also. Like you see a different light,
Yeah.
you see them in a different light. So yeah,
Yeah. I think a common thread also is they all talked about transformational journeys.
yeah.
Golda from
Mia, definitely Mia.
Yeah, Mia,
was
definitely.
like,
That was yeah. But also Kay from, being that kid who was drawing on walls,
yeah,
and then now being a translator of
yeah, ideas, and, yeah, and systems.
so it went beyond just images on the walls. It's already like abstract systems and processes, and like Mark's transformation from an artist to a father, and now everything has a baseline. And Larry's transformation from a kid who's playing the piano to now, I guess, still a kid, but now using poetry and words as his art. And yeah, it's just really inspiring to be able to, I guess, have a glimpse of their journey and how strongly they're all embracing that
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, they really do, huh? Like our guests. I don't know what happened here. Like
I
it was
know,
all
I feel like it's so magical. Were there questions in your head that came up from after the conversations with our guests?
questions for you.
For yourself. Like you were saying, there's still a lot you don't know.
Yeah.
And were there questions that kind of surfaced?
Yeah, I just felt like there could have been more that we could ask. Less on the literary side when it comes to Larry, because I thought that, because I think that he has a lot to say on other things like queerness, and astrology and
We'll have to park that for a part 2 of
yeah.
an interview with him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still processing the whole thing. And I'm like that. It really takes a while for me to marinate on things that, just happened. And it was fast and quick. Like I said, it was a bit overwhelming. So like I'm interested to continue with more introspection to figure out and find out what else did I miss from the conversations, and what questions did I not ask because I was overwhelmed, or that I was already processing in my head, because there was a time that I was just really processing things. I'm like, what did you say again?
Yeah.
Right. What did he mean? So like I had a few moments like that with Mia as well, because I was fascinated by the whole parenting thing. I don't know why. And then, I don't know, like I'm still swimming in the whole thing.
There's a lot to process
Yeah.
and debrief.
Yeah, I
about.
think I need to journal.
Yes. Like purge, like what Larry said,
Yeah.
release and vomit everything.
Vomit, puke. There were two guests that actually talked about vomiting.
I think si Kay also mentioned that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About just putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
To me, there were a couple of questions that I guess got me thinking after our conversations with the guests. Like, one is, like, what is your source for courage? I think I asked that from one of our guests. I asked Larry that. I asked Larry, like, so what makes you brave?
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
And because I feel like that's also a common trait among everyone. They're not afraid to be themselves. They're not afraid to honor their truths. And yeah, it kind of made me ask myself also, like, what makes me brave? What are my sources of courage? And then
Courage was my word for this year, right?
oh yes, and doing this
Yeah.
is very courageous.
Yeah.
And then another thing that also got me thinking, coming from again what Larry mentioned, what Mia mentioned, I think it also cuts across a lot of the episodes. So Golda talked about giving back and paying it forward, how
Yeah.
she felt this is not her purpose yet, that there's more to do.
Yeah.
And then Mia talked about, moving to the mountainside and setting up their
Slow life.
studio.
Yeah.
And putting her work out there and building community online. And then Kay talked about the guitar and, being able to also share that so that the guitar can live its purpose. And then Micah talked about, again, that using her social media as a platform to connect to different collaborators, different brands. And Larry talked about the value of community.
Also about giving the art out. Like,
Yes.
give it.
And same with Mark, the detachment to what he's done, because
Yeah.
that's kind of the value of creating art is
Yeah.
when you share it. And so it was also making me think about how else am I able to serve my community? And it kind of brought me back to why we're doing this in the first place. Because we again wanted to share this space to people who are looking to, I guess, reflect together, and it just kind of made sense to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
why we're doing that. So yeah, those are the things that made me kind of reflect
it.
and ask.
As Larry would
Yeah.
say, give it. So this whole thing is that we are giving
Doing
it.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
We're
giving
all
it.
sharing it with everyone.
Yeah. Larry was telling me last night, give your album away. Give it already. Give it. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
I'm really curious as to how our community of listeners also feel about the episode. So I hope that you can interact with us and
Yeah, we
slide on
have-
our DMs, put out comments there.
Yeah, you can message us on Instagram. Our account is What's Your Takeaway. You can also email us. I forgot our email.
And what's your takeaway at gmail.com?
I think so. But to be safe,
We're gonna put it somewhere.
yeah. Just DM us on our Instagram account. We're both handling it, so
Yes.
we're both accessible. If you have suggestions on possible episodes in the future
Topics,
or
themes.
topics, you can let us know. And if you have suggestions on how to make the podcast better, we are open
Yeah.
to.
How can we add
Yeah.
more value to you and your
how
journey
can
of
we
introspection?
and how can we improve the experience of listening to the podcast? If you have any suggestions, shoot, give
Yeah.
it.
We want it to be as interactive as possible, and it would be good to debrief with you and get feedback.
Yeah, and if you also have like suggestions on who to guess or who to ask, if you know anybody who is super introspective, who values the process of reflecting, yes, DM us, slide.
Yeah. Do you have? I don't think it's fair to ask if you have a favorite episode, but I wanted to ask, like, among all the conversations, is there one line that struck you the most?
Well, aside from Larry's give it.
Oh yes, aside from Larry's give it.
You know what? There is a gift in every episode. I'm still, and I know I'm not worried about reflecting on the episodes because I'm editing them. So I know that I will live it again. So I don't have a favorite. It's more of how did I do on every episode is my is
Your
is
takeaway.
my concern,
Your
like,
concern.
and how I can I how I can minimize the spacing out. Honestly, I'm not used to moderating or hosting. I am the performer. I'm the one
Yeah.
always being questioned. As you know, you're the one questioning me
Asking
now.
all
You know
the
what I
time.
mean? Like, so I know that I need to engage more, but my being an overthinker and my being an automatic, thinker hinders me from engaging more because I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So
you-
I process it right away.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, from my end, it's really more of studying it. So I'm not worried because I'm editing it. So it's like, okay, how can I improve and how can we make this better?
I think it's a new space for both of us. Yeah, I think the questions just come a bit more naturally for me because like as I listen to people share their stories or share their insights, I feel like um I feel like I'm there. Like I feel like I'm part of the story. And it's also just that curiosity, I guess. Yeah.
But like you,
And I think also my facilitating skills just comes out.
it's just natural for you. So like I always say, like you're my Glennon Doyle, I'm your Abby Wambach. So,
Shout out to our pegs.
yeah, for our references. What was I gonna say? The
Yeah, I
conversations.
think it's a good compliment. Like I feel like it's good that you're able to also just be yourself. And,
Yeah.
because sometimes I get overwhelmed, and I also would take a back seat and pause.
I'm really,
And then-
I'm really the kind that who gets overwhelmed anyway.
yeah.
So like my nervous system is a bit whack, but all I can say though is that our episodes, even if they tend to be on a serious and heavier side, we still had fun though. We were laughing, but
A lot.
it was like those are heavy topics. Like those are heavy insights and heavy realities. It's not shallow. So I loved that after the recording in one of our recording sessions, Larry was saying, I'm glad that it's like that. I actually would want to listen to
something
the podcast because it's something that I would like.
It's not. We've never really intended it to be small talk.
Yeah.
Or
We are not small talk
we're
people.
not small talkers. We're big talkers and big feelers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes big,
Too much.
big, too much.
Yeah. I think I also didn't want the conversation to be too cerebral to the point where it results to overthinking. So I hope that the way the guests share their stories humanize them and humanize a lot of these concepts that we all go through in life or reflection per se.
I think at the end of the day, though, I think that whatever insights that our guests were sharing, I think that it's something that people can learn from and people can derive inspiration from. So I'm not worried about who we're gonna reach.
Speaking of inspiration and something nuggets of wisdom that our guests, our listeners can learn from, is there something that came out from the conversation that you took inspiration from and then, you're going to apply it in your life? I'll start.
Go.
So after the conversation with Mia, she talked about Substack and long form writing.
So you're gonna get into that?
Yeah, I was like, I've been wanting to, share my stories in writing, and I've never just had the confidence to do so. But after that, I was really inspired by her, and I'm gonna put it out there. That's one. And then the second one is Larry slicing and focusing on the knife versus the mold in his writing. I think that's a very liberating way to look at prose or to look at your expression. You put it out there messy, and then that's it.
And
you
then
just
polish
keep
it.
Slicing it. Yeah.
I
So
can't
that's
wait.
me.
So what's your Substack account? Okay, just okay.
Bahagi. Shameless plug.
Okay, I'm not going for any long form thing for now. But if when it comes to inspiration, like it's really just general inspiration. Like last night, I was telling Larry that the podcast and my music, the new music that I've been working on, it feels like I'm coming home to myself. Like it was for the longest time, I wasn't with me. I was with them and for them. So
We're such in the same space,
right?
man.
Like I feel like the podcast, what we're doing is healing for me. So I feel like I'm coming home. Like this is more of my purpose now, and I'm done with the doing things for the externals. Yeah, and it's
Why am I
really-
getting emotional?
I am gonna cry too. But so that's it. So thank you. I appreciate you very much. I love you.
I love you.
Seriously, we're crying.
I love you. I mean, it's nice to be cringe together. It's nice to be courageous together. It's nice to just be ourselves together and to come home together. I don't
And
know.
it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and
there
while
is
you were
power in that.
while you were saying that, it just reminded me of my uncle Ramdas.
Oh yeah.
My uncle Ramdas's quotable quote that we're all just walking each other home.
Aw.
And that's why I held your hand. Because I do feel that. I do feel like I'm really coming back to myself also. And I am just so grateful that I'm able to share this journey with you.
Thank you, gang.
Thank you. I think that's it.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
This is our season wrap, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with us. Thank you, gang. I love you.
I love you.
I can't wait for season 2. And I guess that's it.
Please pay it forward and share your takeaways to your respective communities, friends, and family, and whatever.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Once again,
This has been What's Your Takeaway? Bye, guys.
Bye.